My name is Harper Taylor, and 3 months ago, I learned that sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones you've protected the longest. At my housewarming party, in front of 40 guests, colleagues, neighbors, friends, my sister Madison stood up and announced she was the legal owner of my house. She told everyone I had to leave immediately. My husband Ryan took a sip of wine, perfectly calm. My best friend Jenna squeezed my hand under the table. And me? I let Madison finish her speech. Then I started counting down. 3, 2, 1. The room went silent. What happened next shocked everyone in that room, including Madison. Before I tell you what I did, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this story. And I'd love to know, where are you watching from, and what time is it there? Drop a comment below. Now let me take you back to how it all began. The house had taken 3 years of my life. I'd bought it as a foreclosure, crumbling foundation, rotted floors, walls that hadn't seen paint since the 80s. Everyone told me to walk away. But I'm an architect. I saw what it could become. And that night, it was perfect. Edison bulbs cast warm light across exposed brick walls. The scent of rosemary and roasted vegetables drifted from the kitchen. 40 people filled the space, architects I'd collaborated with, contractors who'd helped rebuild the structure, new neighbors from the street. Linda Morrison, my neighbor 2 doors down, stood near the fireplace. I'd learned she was a retired real estate judge only after inviting her. She smiled warmly, admiring the restored crown molding. Jenna Brooks, my best friend since college, moved through the crowd with her lawyer's grace. She'd helped me review every document when I bought the place. She knew how much this house meant. Tom Garrett stood near the window, wine glass in hand. I'd introduced him as an old family friend, which was true. I just hadn't mentioned he was also my attorney. Ryan stood beside me, his hand resting on my lower back. "You did it," he whispered. "It's beautiful." I felt proud, accomplished, safe. Then Madison arrived. She was late, as always. She wore a red dress that demanded attention, her heels clicking against the hardwood floors I'd refinished myself. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Nice place," she said, barely looking at me. Something in her tone made my stomach tighten, but I pushed it away. This was my night. I'd worked too hard to let her mood ruin it. I didn't know it then, but Madison had been planning this moment for weeks. She'd been waiting for an audience, and I'd given her exactly that. To understand what happened that night, you need to know something about Madison and me. 2 years earlier, she'd called me crying. She needed $15,000 to start a marketing business. "It's my dream, Harper. I just need a chance." I gave her the money, no contract, no timeline, just trust. She never paid me back, never even mentioned it again. Instead, 6 months later, she complained to our aunt that I was selfish because I wouldn't co-sign a car loan for her. Our parents died when I was 26 and Madison was 21. Before Mom passed, she'd pulled me aside. "Take care of your sister," she'd said. "She needs you." I'd internalized that message, turned it into a responsibility I carried everywhere. Every time Madison asked for something, I felt guilty saying no. Every time she called me selfish, I wondered if she was right. But 6 months before the housewarming party, something shifted. Madison had texted me, frantic. She needed $500 for an emergency root canal. I sent the money immediately. 2 days later, I saw her Instagram story. She was at a spa resort in Sedona. That's when I started saving her messages. Every text, every email, every voicemail. I didn't know why at the time. It just felt necessary. Like I was documenting something I'd eventually need to prove. I used to think being a good sister meant saying yes. I didn't realize I was teaching her that my boundaries didn't matter, that my resources were hers. That she could take and take and take, and I'd never stop her. I was wrong. 4 months before the party, Madison asked me to sign a document. "It's a family tradition thing," she'd said over coffee. just paperwork to share ownership of the house. So we're both protected. She slid the papers across the table. They looked official: letterhead, legal language, signature lines. Why would I need to share ownership? I asked. Because we're family, Harper. Because Mom and Dad would have wanted us to take care of each other. Something felt wrong. I told her I'd think about it. That night, I texted a photo of the document to Jenna. She called me 10 minutes later. Harper, this isn't family tradition paperwork. This is a quitclaim deed. If you sign this, you're transferring partial ownership of your house to Madison. My blood went cold. Are you sure? I asked. I'm a real estate attorney. I'm sure. The next day, I told Madison I wouldn't sign. She exploded. You don't even see me as family, she shouted. You think you're better than me because you have a house and a husband and a career. Madison, that's not… Forget it. I should have known you'd choose yourself over me. She hung up. Ryan found me crying in the kitchen that night. Your house, your rules, he said firmly. But the guilt still gnawed at me. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a notary public. They wanted to verify, had I authorized Madison Taylor to notarize a property transfer on my behalf? Absolutely not, I said. The notary explained that Madison had tried to submit the document with what appeared to be my signature. They'd refused because she couldn't provide my ID. Madison had tried to forge my signature. That's when I called Tom Garrett. And that's when I started building my case. Tom Garrett's office smelled like leather and old books. He'd been our family attorney since I was a teenager, the one who'd helped settle my parents' estate. Tell me everything, he said. I laid it out. The $15,000, the fake emergency, the quitclaim deed, the attempted forgery. Tom listened, taking notes. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. Harper, you're the sole legal owner of that house. Your name is on the deed. You paid for it. Madison has no claim whatsoever. I know that, I said, but she doesn't seem to care. Then we make it impossible for her to claim otherwise. He pulled out a legal pad. Here's what we'll do. Over the next hour, Tom outlined a plan. He'd prepare a packet: the original notarized purchase agreement, proof of every mortgage payment, and copies of Madison's emails, including the one where she'd written, I know the house is legally yours, but I need money. Can you add my name to the deed? If she tries anything public, Tom said, we respond publicly, calmly, legally, with documentation. You think she'll try something public? I asked. Tom smiled grimly. People like Madison don't back down quietly. They escalate. Before I left, I asked him something I'd been thinking about for days. Would you come to my housewarming party? As a guest? He understood immediately. I'll bring the documents. I also invited Linda Morrison, my new neighbor. I'd learned she was a retired real estate judge. I didn't tell her why I wanted her there. I just said I'd love for her to see what I'd done with the house. She'd said yes. I wasn't going to fight Madison in the shadows. If she wanted to humiliate me publicly, I'd let her. And then I'd respond, legally, calmly, and in front of everyone. The week before the party, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining scenarios. What if Madison showed up and made a scene? What if she convinced people I'd stolen the house from her? What if my colleagues started doubting my integrity? As a freelance architect, my reputation is everything. Clients hire me because they trust me. If even a whisper of legal trouble circulated, contracts would disappear. I'd already landed 3 projects through referrals from people who'd be at the party. If they thought I was involved in some family property dispute, something shady, something unethical, those projects would vanish. And the neighbors. I'd just moved to this street. I wanted to build relationships, become part of the community. If they thought I wasn't the legitimate owner, if they saw me as someone embroiled in legal drama, I'd be the pariah on the block. But more than any of that, I couldn't let Madison think she could keep doing this. I remembered my mother's last words to me, whispered in the hospital 3 days before she died. Don't let anyone take what's yours, Harper. Not even family. At the time, I'd thought she was talking about sentimental things, photos, Heirlooms. Now I understood. She'd known Madison. She'd seen the patterns. This wasn't just about a house. It was about whether I would let someone rewrite my story in front of the people I respected most. Whether I'd stand up for myself or shrink back into the role of the accommodating older sister who always gave in. I was done giving in. The night before the party, Ryan found me in the study, reviewing documents for the third time. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. I looked up at him. "About what?" "Letting her walk into a trap." "It's not a trap," I said. "It's the truth. I'm just ready to tell it." Ryan sat down across from me. "If Madison tries anything tomorrow, let her finish. Don't interrupt." "That's the plan." "Are you sure?" he asked again. I met his eyes. "I've never been more sure of anything." He nodded slowly. "Then I'm with you, whatever happens." The next morning I called Jenna. "Stay close to me tonight," I said. "I might need you to confirm something." "What's going on, Harper?" "I think Madison's going to make a move, and I'm ready." There was a pause. Then Jenna said, "I'll be right next to you." That afternoon, Tom arrived early. He handed me a brown envelope, thick with papers. Inside, the notarized purchase agreement, copies of every mortgage payment, printed emails from Madison, including the one where she'd acknowledged the house was mine, and a letter from the notary public confirming Madison's attempted forgery. "Keep this somewhere accessible," Tom said. "If you need it, you'll need it fast." I placed the envelope on a shelf in the coat closet, hidden behind winter scarves. As guests began arriving, I felt a strange calm settle over me. I'd spent my whole life avoiding conflict. But that night I realized, sometimes the kindest thing you can do is stand your ground. I didn't know exactly when Madison would strike, but I knew she would, and I was ready. It happened an hour into the party. The room buzzed with conversation. Someone laughed near the kitchen. A colleague asked about the exposed brick. Everything felt warm, normal, safe. Then Madison stood up. She tapped her wine glass with a spoon. The sharp clink cut through the noise. Conversations died. Heads turned. "Everyone," Madison said, her voice bright and confident, "I have an announcement." My heart started pounding, but I kept my face neutral. Ryan, sitting beside me, took a slow sip of his wine. His hand found mine under the table. Jenna's fingers tightened around my other hand. "I know this is Harper's party," Madison continued, smiling at the crowd. "But there's something you all should know." The room went completely silent. "This house?" Madison gestured around the space. "It's not actually hers." I heard someone gasp, saw Linda Morrison's eyebrows rise. Madison's smile widened. "I've spoken to a lawyer. I'm the legal owner of this property." My colleague David frowned. A neighbor whispered to her husband. Madison turned to me. "I'm sorry to do this here, sis, but you need to know. This house belongs to me now." I said nothing, just looked at her. Ryan sipped his wine again, perfectly calm. Madison addressed the crowd again. "I know this is uncomfortable, but I have to protect what's mine." She pulled a folded paper from her purse, waving it slightly. "I have documentation, legal proof." Someone near the back asked, "Wait, what's going on?" Madison's voice turned sympathetic. "Harper forged documents to steal this house from our family. I'm just setting things right." I counted silently. 3, 2, 1. Then I stood up. Madison blinked, surprised I was standing. "Madison," I said quietly, "are you finished?" "What?" "I asked if you're finished, because I'd like to respond." Her confidence faltered for just a second, then she recovered. "There's nothing to respond to, Harper. I have a lawyer. I have documentation." "So do I said. "And he's here." The room shifted. People looked around, confused. Tom Garrett stood up from his seat near the window. "Good evening, everyone. I'm Tom Garrett, Harper's attorney." Madison's face went pale. "This is ridiculous." "Madison," I said, my voice still calm, "you said you have proof. May I see it?" She hesitated. Then defiantly, she thrust the paper toward me. I took it, unfolded it, glanced at the text, Then I handed it to Tom. He examined it for maybe 10 seconds. Then he looked up at the crowd. "This document is not notarized," Tom said clearly. "It has no legal standing whatsoever." Whispers erupted. I saw David lean toward another colleague, speaking in low tones. Madison's voice rose. "That doesn't mean anything. I have other proof." "What proof?" I asked. "Family inheritance. Mom and Dad wanted me to have this house." "Mom and Dad left the house to me," I said. "In their will, which was notarized and filed with the county." Madison's mouth opened, closed. Her face flushed red. "You're lying," she said. "I'm not." I looked at her steadily. "And you know I'm not." Someone coughed. The silence felt heavy, oppressive. Madison turned back to the crowd, her voice desperate now. "She's manipulating all of you. She's always been like this, controlling, selfish." I reached for the brown envelope. I walked to the coat closet, retrieved the envelope, and returned to the center of the room. Every eye followed me. "Madison says I'm lying," I said to the crowd. "So let me show you the truth." I opened the envelope and pulled out the first document. "This is the original purchase agreement for this house, signed by me, notarized on June 14th, 3 years ago." I handed it to Linda Morrison. "Ms. Morrison, would you mind verifying this?" Linda took the document. She'd been a real estate judge for 20 years. She knew exactly what she was looking at. She read carefully. Then she nodded. "This is a legally binding purchase agreement. Harper Taylor is listed as the sole owner." "Thank you," I said. Madison's voice cracked. "That doesn't prove anything." "It proves I bought this house," I said. "With my money. In my name." I pulled out the next set of papers. "These are copies of every mortgage payment I've made, 3 years' worth, all from my account." I set them on the coffee table. Several guests leaned in to look. "Madison," I said, turning to her, "have you made a single payment on this house?" She didn't answer. "Have you contributed to any of the renovations? The new roof? The foundation repair? The electrical work?" Silence. "Have you lived here? Even for a single night?" Her jaw tightened. "You never invited me." "I offered you the guest room 3 times," I said. "You refused every time." David, my colleague, spoke up. "Madison, if Harper has the deed and all the payment records, what's your claim based on?" Madison's hands shook. "Family. It's based on family." I pulled out the next document. "Let's talk about family." I need to pause here for just a moment. I know this is intense, and we're just getting to the most important part. But I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where someone tried to take credit for your work, your home, or your success? Maybe it was a family member, maybe a coworker, maybe someone you trusted. If that's happened to you, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your story, and if you're finding this helpful, please hit that like button. It really does make a difference. Now, let me show you what was in those emails. I pulled out a stack of printed emails. "6 months ago," I said, "Madison sent me this." I read aloud. "Harper, I know the house is legally yours, but I need money. Can you add my name to the deed just as a co-owner, please?" The room was silent. "I said no," I continued, "because this house is mine. I bought it. I renovated it. I pay for it." I held up another email. "3 months ago, she sent this. If you don't give me what I deserve, I'll find another way." Madison's face went from red to white. "You're taking that out of context. What context makes that okay?" I asked. Jenna stood up. "Madison, those emails constitute clear acknowledgement of Harper's ownership, and the second one could be interpreted as a threat." "I wasn't threatening her," Madison shouted. "Then what did you mean by 'I'll find another way'?" Jenna asked calmly. Madison didn't answer. I pulled out one more document. 2 weeks after that email, Madison went to a notary public. She tried to submit a property transfer document with my signature on it. Gasps rippled through the room. "The notary refused," I said, "because Madison couldn't provide my identification, and because the signature didn't look right. I held up the letter from the notary's office. They sent me this letter, confirming the incident. Linda Morrison's voice was sharp. Madison, did you attempt to forge your sister's signature? Madison's eyes darted around the room. I, I just, I needed. Yes or no, Linda said. Madison's voice was barely a whisper. It wasn't like that. That's not an answer, Linda said. I looked at Madison. You tried to steal my house. She said nothing. But I wasn't done yet. I pulled out one final document. There's one more thing, I said. Madison's eyes widened. Harper, please. This, I said, holding up the paper, is a formal complaint I filed with the district attorney's office regarding attempted forgery and fraud. The room erupted in whispers. You what? Madison's voice broke. I filed it 3 days ago, I said, after consulting with Tom, after documenting everything, after giving you every possible chance to stop. Tom stepped forward. Forgery of property documents is a felony in Oregon. The DA's office is reviewing the case. Madison looked around wildly, as if searching for an ally. She found none. This is insane, she said. You're going to have me arrested? I'm protecting myself, I said. Something I should have done years ago. I'm your sister. And I've been your sister for 34 years, I said. I've given you money. I've given you second chances. I've given you the benefit of the doubt over and over again. My voice didn't rise. I kept it steady, calm. But you tried to steal my house, Madison. You forged my signature. You came to my party and tried to humiliate me in front of 40 people. I looked around the room. Everyone here heard you say this house belongs to you. Everyone heard you tell me to leave. I turned back to Madison. So, yes, I filed a complaint, because this isn't about family anymore. This is about the law. Madison's face crumpled. Tears started streaming down her cheeks. Harper, please, she whispered. I didn't mean. Yes, you did, I said quietly. And then the room erupted. Madison spun toward the crowd, her voice breaking. She's my sister, she said desperately. She's supposed to help me. I've been struggling, financially, emotionally, and she just... I offered you help, I said, multiple times. You wanted to control me. No, I said firmly. I wanted to help you, but you didn't want help. You wanted ownership. David spoke up. Madison, did you really try to forge documents? No, I just thought... Madison stammered. Tom's voice cut through. Actually, we have written confirmation from the notary's office. The attempted forgery is documented. Madison's shoulders sagged. One of my neighbors, a woman named Carol, stood up. Madison, I think you should leave. I didn't do anything wrong. Madison's voice rose to a shout. You accused Harper of forging documents, Carol said, in front of all of us. You told her to leave her own house, and now we know you were lying. I wasn't lying. Then what were you doing? Jenna asked coldly. Madison looked at me, her eyes pleading. Harper, please, don't do this. We can work this out. Family should respect boundaries, I said. Family should tell the truth. Family shouldn't try to steal from each other. I wasn't stealing. What do you call trying to forge my signature on a property deed? I asked. She had no answer. Linda Morrison stood up, her voice carrying the weight of her years on the bench. Young lady, what you've described here tonight, the attempted forgery, the false claims of ownership, these are serious legal matters. If I were you, I'd leave now and consult an attorney. Madison's face went pale. Harper, she whispered. Please. No, I said. I pulled out the letter from the notary's office one more time. Since Madison won't answer your questions honestly, I said to the room, let me read this aloud. I unfolded the letter. Dear Ms. Harper Taylor, this letter is to inform you that on March 14th, an individual identifying herself as Madison Taylor attempted to notarize a property transfer document at our office. The document bore what appeared to be your signature. However, when asked to provide your identification, Ms. Madison Taylor could not do so. Upon closer inspection, our notary determined the signature appeared inconsistent with the ID she provided for herself. We denied the request and have filed this incident report per state law. The silence was deafening. Linda Morrison's voice was ice. That's attempted fraud, a felony in this state. Madison's legs seemed to give out. She sank back into her chair. I didn't, she started. Stop, I said, just stop. I looked at the crowd. I didn't want to do this publicly. I tried to handle this privately. I tried to set boundaries. I tried to help Madison in ways that didn't involve giving her my house. I turned back to my sister. But you gave me no choice. You came here tonight planning to humiliate me, to make me look like a liar and a thief in front of people I respect. Harper, I'm done, Madison. I'm done being your safety net. I'm done being your doormat. I'm done pretending that your behavior is acceptable because we share DNA. My voice didn't shake. I felt strangely calm. You need to leave, I said. Now. Madison stood up, tears streaming down her face. You'll regret this. No, I said. I regret not doing it sooner. She grabbed her purse and ran for the door. It slammed behind her. For a moment, nobody moved. Then David walked over and put his hand on my shoulder. Harper, I'm so sorry. We had no idea. It's not your fault, I said. Carol, my neighbor, approached next. That took incredible courage. I don't know if I could have stayed that calm. I practiced, I admitted. A ripple of surprised laughter went through the room. Linda Morrison came over, her expression serious. Harper, if you need a witness for any legal proceedings, I'm happy to provide testimony about what I saw tonight. Thank you, I said. That means a lot. Jenna wrapped her arms around me. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. I felt my composure crack slightly. I can't believe I just did that. You protected yourself, Jenna said. That's not something to feel bad about. Ryan appeared at my side, his hand finding the small of my back. You were perfect, he said quietly. Tom approached, his expression professional but kind. Harper, I should mention, I filed a restraining order petition this morning. It'll be served to Madison tomorrow. Several guests looked shocked. A restraining order? David asked. Madison sent Harper multiple threatening texts over the past 2 months, Tom explained. The legal term is harassment. The restraining order will prevent her from contacting Harper or coming within 500 feet of this property. Linda nodded approvingly. Smart. Document everything. One of the contractors, a man named Mike, spoke up. Harper, I've known Madison for about a year. She borrowed $3,000 from me last summer. Never paid it back. Another guest, someone I barely knew, raised her hand tentatively. She owes me money too, $1,500. I looked around the room, stunned. How many people had Madison done this to? The door had slammed, but we could still hear Madison's car starting outside. The engine revved angrily. Tires squealed as she pulled away. The room remained quiet for another moment. Then someone started clapping. It wasn't loud or celebratory. It was slow, respectful, a gesture of support. Others joined in. Not everyone, but enough. I felt my eyes sting with tears, not from sadness, from relief. Thank you, I said to the room. All of you, for being here, for witnessing this. I know it was uncomfortable. Don't apologize, Linda said firmly. You did nothing wrong. Carol nodded. You protected yourself. That's admirable, not shameful. Ryan's arm tightened around my waist. Are you okay? He asked quietly. I will be, I said. Jenna appeared with a glass of water. Drink this. You're shaking. I was. I hadn't noticed. I took the glass, drank half of it. The cold water helped. Mike, the contractor who'd mentioned Madison owing him money, approached. Harper, I'm going to contact a lawyer tomorrow. If you're willing to share what you know about Madison's pattern of behavior, it might help my case. Of course, I said. Tom can connect you with the documentation. Another guest, a woman named Sarah, came over. Thank you for standing up to her. She scammed me out of $2,000 last year. Told me she needed it for her mother's medical bills. Our mother's been dead for 8 years, I said quietly. Sarah's face hardened. Then I'm definitely filing a complaint. I looked around the room, at the faces of people who just witnessed something raw and difficult. They didn't look uncomfortable anymore. They looked supportive. And I realized this was just the beginning. I set down my water glass and addressed the room. I need to explain something, I said. I didn't want to do this publicly. I really didn't. People listened, their faces attentive. For months, I tried to handle this privately. I set boundaries, I said no. I explained why I couldn't add Madison's name to my house deed. I took a breath. But she wouldn't accept it. She kept pushing. She sent threatening texts. She tried to forge my signature. And tonight, she decided to humiliate me in front of all of you. David nodded. You didn't have a choice. I did have a choice, I said. I could have stayed silent, let her say whatever she wanted, dealt with it later, privately. But then we'd all think she was telling the truth, Carol said. Exactly, I said. And I couldn't let that happen. Not because of pride, but because my reputation matters. My relationships with you all matter. This community matters. I looked around the room. I'm a freelance architect. I depend on trust. If people think I'm involved in shady property disputes, I lose work. I lose everything I've built. Linda spoke up. What you did tonight was textbook self-defense, legal, measured, and justified. I tried to help Madison, I said. I really did. I offered her money, a place to stay, job referrals. She refused everything except ownership of my house. That's not help she wanted, Jenna said. That's theft. I nodded slowly. I know that now. Ryan squeezed my hand. You handled this with more grace than most people could. I don't feel graceful, I admitted. I feel exhausted. That's normal, Linda said. You just fought a battle in front of witnesses. That takes enormous strength. I wasn't trying to humiliate Madison. I was trying to protect myself. And sometimes, that means letting the truth be seen. Okay, I need to pause here again. If you've made it this far, thank you. Truly. This was one of the hardest nights of my life, but also one of the most empowering. If this story resonates with you, if you've ever had to set a difficult boundary with someone you love, please share this video. Someone in your life might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll be sharing what happened in the weeks and months after this night, because the story doesn't end here. Now, let me tell you about the aftermath. The guests left around midnight. The house felt eerily quiet. Ryan and I cleaned up in silence, collecting wine glasses, throwing away paper plates, wiping down counters. You okay? He asked for the 10th time. I don't know, I said honestly. Jenna had stayed behind. She sat at the kitchen island, scrolling through her phone. I'm documenting everything, she said, taking screenshots of the guest list, writing down who said what, just in case. In case of what? I asked. In case Madison tries to rewrite what happened tonight. Tom had left an hour earlier, but not before pulling me aside. The restraining order will be served tomorrow, he'd said. Madison won't be able to contact you or come within 500 feet of your home or workplace. What about the forgery? I'd asked. I forwarded all the evidence to the district attorney's office. They'll review it and decide whether to press charges. Now, sitting in my quiet house, I felt the weight of it all. This was my sister, my only sibling, and I'd just had her legally barred from my life. Ryan sat down next to me. Do you regret it? I don't know, I said. Part of me feels guilty, like I should have found another way. There was no other way, Jenna said firmly. She tried to steal your house, Harper. She forged your signature. She publicly accused you of fraud. I know. Do you? Jenna asked. Because you sound like you're blaming yourself. I was quiet for a moment. Then I said, I just keep thinking about what Mom said. Take care of your sister. Taking care of someone doesn't mean letting them destroy you, Ryan said. I knew he was right, but it still hurt. Over the next week, something unexpected happened. People reached out. David emailed me about a new project, a residential development that needed an architect. After seeing how you handled yourself Saturday night, he wrote, I know you're someone I want to work with. Linda Morrison stopped by with a casserole and a business card. I'm on the board of the Portland Architecture Guild, she said. We're looking for someone to lead a workshop on residential restoration. Interested? I was stunned. Absolutely. Carol organized a neighborhood coffee morning and made a point of introducing me to everyone as the incredibly talented architect who renovated the Blue Victorian. Jenna called me 3 days after the party. I'm writing a blog post about legal boundaries in family relationships. Can I reference your story? I won't use names. Of course, I said. The post went viral. 50,000 views in 2 days. My inbox filled with messages from strangers. Your story gave me the courage to leave an abusive sibling relationship. I've been letting my brother steal from me for years. After reading this, I'm finally getting a lawyer. Thank you for showing that setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's survival. I read every message. Some made me cry. A week after the party, I got a call from a local nonprofit that helped people navigate property law. They wanted me to speak at their annual fundraiser. We need more stories like yours, the director said. People need to know they can protect themselves legally. I said yes. Ryan found me in the study that night staring at my calendar. What's wrong? He asked. Nothing's wrong, I said. I never wanted to be an advocate. I just wanted to keep my house. Sometimes your pain becomes your purpose, he said gently. I was starting to believe that. Tom called me 10 days after the party. The DA reviewed the case, he said. They've decided not to press criminal charges. My stomach sank. Why not? Madison has no prior criminal record, and technically the forgery wasn't completed. The notary stopped it. The DA doesn't think they can get a conviction. So she gets away with it? Not exactly, Tom said. The restraining order stands. And there's more. What? 2 people who were at your party have filed civil suits against Madison. They're claiming fraud and seeking restitution. Mike, the contractor, and Sarah, the woman Madison had scammed with the fake medical bills story. How much are they suing for? I asked. 18,000 total, plus legal fees. I felt a strange mix of emotions, relief that Madison would face some consequences, sadness that it had come to this. There's something else, Tom said. Madison tried to contact you through a mutual acquaintance. She wants to apologize and ask for another chance. What did you tell them? I said that all communication needs to go through me per the restraining order, and that you're not interested in reconciliation at this time. Thank you, I said. That night, Ryan asked me if I felt guilty. A little, I admitted. She's losing clients, getting sued, probably spending money she doesn't have on lawyers. Do you think she'd feel guilty if she'd succeeded? Ryan asked. If she'd actually stolen your house? I thought about it. No, she'd feel entitled. Exactly, he said. Jenna came over that weekend. We sat in my backyard drinking coffee. I've decided something, I said. What? I'm donating $5,000 to that property law nonprofit, the one that asked me to speak. That's generous, Jenna said. It's necessary, I said. I want something good to come from this. 3 months after the party, my life looked completely different. The residential development project David had referred me to became the biggest contract of my career. 12 custom homes, each one requiring detailed architectural plans. The fee was substantial, enough to pay off my mortgage 2 years early. Linda Morrison made good on her promise. I led a workshop for the Portland Architecture Guild on restoration with integrity. 30 people attended. 3 of them hired me for projects afterward. The nonprofit invited me to speak at their fundraiser. I stood in front of 200 people and told my story, not for revenge, not for sympathy, but to show that protecting yourself legally is possible. The room was silent when I finished. Then a woman in the back stood up. "Thank you," she said, her voice shaking. "My brother has been trying to steal my mother's house for 3 years. I thought I was alone. I thought I was being cruel for fighting back." "You're not," I said. "You're being strong." After the event, 17 people approached me. They all had similar stories: family members who'd tried to exploit them, steal from them, manipulate them. "What did you do?" they asked. "I documented everything," I said. "I got a lawyer, I set boundaries, and when I had to, I enforced them publicly." Jenna's blog post had continued to circulate. It was shared in legal forums, family therapy groups, and domestic abuse survivor networks. She called me one evening. "Harper, you've become an accidental advocate." "I don't want to be an advocate," I said. "I just wanted to keep my house." "I know," she said. "But sometimes the universe has other plans." I thought about that a lot. I never wanted this platform. But now that I had it, maybe I could use it to help people who felt as trapped as I once did. By the end of the year, my business had grown 40%. Not because I'd advertised, not because I'd hustled harder, because people trusted me. The story of what happened at my housewarming party had spread, not as gossip, but as evidence of character. Clients told me they hired me because I was someone who stood by their principles. One client, a retired teacher, said, "I need an architect who won't cut corners, someone with integrity. After hearing what you did, I knew you were that person." The irony wasn't lost on me. Madison had tried to destroy my reputation, and instead, she'd accidentally strengthened it. Ryan and I decided to reinvest in the house. We added a home office for me, a bright, windowed space where I could draft plans and meet clients. We renovated the backyard, building a deck and planting a garden. "This feels like a fresh start," Ryan said one evening, watching the sunset from our new deck. "It is," I said. I also did something I'd been thinking about for months. I established a small scholarship fund in my mother's name. It would help women pursue degrees in real estate law or property management. "Mom always told me to protect what's mine," I told Ryan. "This feels like honoring that." The first recipient was a single mother who'd been fighting to keep her home after her ex-husband tried to claim it in their divorce. She sent me a thank you note. "You don't know what this means," she wrote. "Not just the money, but knowing someone believes in me." I framed that note and hung it in my office. Protecting my house wasn't just about bricks and mortar. It was about protecting my future, my peace, my ability to help others. And I'd succeeded. I haven't spoken to Madison in 6 months. The restraining order is still in effect. She's legally prohibited from contacting me, and as far as I know, she's complied. My aunt, my mother's sister, the only extended family I have left, tried to mediate. "Harper, she's your sister," Aunt Ellen said over the phone. "Don't you think you're being a little harsh?" "She tried to steal my house," I said calmly. "She forged my signature. She publicly accused me of fraud. She made a mistake." "It wasn't a mistake, Aunt Ellen. It was a pattern, and I can't keep enabling it." There was a long silence. Then she said, "Your mother would be heartbroken." "My mother told me not to let anyone take what's mine," I said. "Not even family." Aunt Ellen hung up. We haven't spoken since. I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt. There are moments, holidays mostly, when I feel the absence. When I remember what it was like to have a sister, even a difficult one. Ryan finds me sometimes, staring out the window, lost in thought. "Thinking about Madison?" he asks. "Yeah." "Do you regret it?" I consider the question carefully. I regret that it came to this. I wish Madison had been different. I wish our relationship could have been healthier. "But," Ryan prompts. "But I don't regret protecting myself," I say. "I can't." Jenna told me something once that stuck with me. You can grieve the sister you wish you had, and still protect yourself from the sister you actually have. That's what I'm doing, grieving and protecting, both at the same time. It's not easy, but it's necessary. And slowly I'm learning to be at peace with that. If I could go back and tell myself something before that night, it would be this. Being kind doesn't mean saying yes to everything. For most of my life, I thought being a good sister, a good person, meant accommodating, giving, sacrificing. I thought boundaries were selfish. I was wrong. Boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. You decide who gets to come in. You decide what behavior you'll accept. You decide when enough is enough. And saying no, firmly, clearly, without apology, isn't cruelty. It's self-respect. I used to feel guilty every time I set a limit with Madison. Every time I said, I can't give you money, or I won't add your name to my deed, I felt like I was failing her. Now I understand. I wasn't failing her. I was protecting myself. And that's not just okay, it's necessary. Here's what I've learned. If someone in your life makes you feel guilty for protecting yourself, that's a sign you need to protect yourself even more. Healthy people respect boundaries. They might not like them, they might be disappointed, but they respect them. Unhealthy people punish you for having boundaries. They manipulate. They guilt trip. They escalate. Madison escalated, and I had to respond. I'm not proud of what happened that night. I wish it could have been different. I wish Madison had been different. But I am proud of how I handled it. I didn't yell. I didn't insult her. I didn't stoop to her level. I presented facts. I enforced legal boundaries. I protected what was mine. And in doing so, I protected myself. That's not something to feel ashamed of. That's something to feel strong about. The night of my housewarming party, I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to be a victim. Today, I'm sitting in my home office, the one Ryan and I built together. The house is quiet. The title is in my name. The mortgage is nearly paid off. And for the first time in years, I feel safe. Not just physically safe, emotionally safe. I don't wake up wondering if Madison will try something new. I don't check my email with dread. I don't second-guess every decision I make. I have boundaries. Clear, legal, enforced boundaries. And I have peace. If you're in a situation where someone is trying to take what's yours, whether it's property, credit, or peace of mind, please know this. You have the right to protect yourself. Legally, calmly, publicly if necessary. It won't be easy. People might not understand. Family might call you harsh. Friends might say you're overreacting. But you know the truth. You know what you've endured. You know what you've tried. And you know when enough is enough. Document everything. Get a lawyer. Set boundaries. Enforce them. And don't apologize for protecting yourself. You deserve safety. You deserve respect. You deserve to keep what's yours. I'm not going to tell you that everything will be perfect afterward. It won't be. You'll still have hard days. You'll still feel guilty sometimes. But you'll also have something you didn't have before. Control over your own life. And that's worth fighting for. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to set a hard boundary with a family member? How did it go? Drop a comment below. Let's support each other. And remember, your boundaries are not negotiable. They're not up for debate. They're yours. Protect them. Before you go, I want to ask you something. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have confronted Madison publicly, the way I did? Or would you have handled it privately, away from the guests? I genuinely want to know your perspective. Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll be sharing more stories about boundaries, family dynamics, and finding your voice when it matters most. Thank you for being part of this community. I'll see you in the next one.